Welcome back to the Weekly Sports Guy podcast. I'm your host, Ashton Alcock, and today we got a couple of things to talk about. One, we got some breaking news this morning that Daniel Jones got cut, so I'm going to go into a little bit about that. Then I'm going to talk about some of the rookie quarterbacks this year, who's been surprising, who has not. And we're going to do my Week 12 picks, which I haven't done since like Week 7, and I know I've been gone for a bit, but I had some homework to do and projects to work on, projects that took me a bit to get done because I had to wait a day after it was due, blah, 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 and there's so much stuff I had to do. Avalon, who's in the back today, can confirm. She's nodding her head yes. So she's my eyewitness to me being busy the last couple of weeks. But we should have a good show today. And words. But that part will get cut out. Yeah, let's get into Daniel Jones getting cut. And let's get to Daniel Jones getting cut because that is probably the biggest thing. First, they benched him after last week. Obviously, he has not been working out the last 6-something years. I think he was drafted in 2018 and 2016. 2019. I am way off. Oh my gosh, I'm way off. But he's been in the league since 2019. He's been the starting quarterback for the Giants for a while. Obviously, he had that one good year a couple years ago where he looked pretty good. Brian Dable hit his weaknesses, but they came right back out the next year. And now they finally cut him, and now they're on their tank mode to go get a quarterback. It looks like possibly they want Shedeur Sanders. They really like Shedeur, but I don't know who they want. They go Carson Beck. I could see them going Quinn Ewers. I could see them going Cam Ward. There's so many quarterbacks, especially if you're the first team drafting a quarterback. You get the pick of all of them. Obviously, when you're the last team picking a quarterback in that first round, the second round of those top-tier quarterbacks, you get kind of stuck with the end of the run and who the other teams didn't want. And there's so many teams this year looking for a quarterback. You got the Giants, the Raiders, the Browns possibly. You got the Jets, probably most likely, since Rodgers most likely won't be back. You've got, I don't know, I can't even think on top of my head. There's so many teams that might need. Panthers might go. Titans might go again in 2 years after drafting Will Levis. I did say the Giants, that's what I'm talking about. The Giants are a big mistake of football sometimes. That's fair. She wanted to say Giants, so there you go. Shout out to Avalon in the back. What's it called? But like Daniel Jones is not that good of a quarterback. He doesn't have a good arm. He's not accurate. He's got some speed to him, but what is speed going to do when you're a quarterback and you throw the football down the field, not that way with an interception? The touchdown end zone is going the same direction you are, but he likes to throw a lot of picks and it ends up going that way. But it's like Danny Dimes. I remember he got that nickname from the Giants fans. He's just not good at football. And if you're a Giants fan, you drafted a guy out of Duke, 6 overall. Duke has not made any quarterbacks that I could even think of. They might have produced one. Duke QBs. I'm going to look it up. Drafted in the NFL. All right, here we go. Let's see. Can I even name one person that I know that's not Daniel Jones? There's a lot of them, but don't think any of them are really noticeable. Yeah, I couldn't even tell you. Daniel Jones was the last kind of like big named quarterback. Obviously, they've had players like Michael Carter II for the Jets, the corner, but like Graham Barton for the Buccaneers. But like other than that, there's not been really big name players, especially at that quarterback position. You took him 6th overall. 6th. You're a madman. And then they finally granted his release after they made him the 4th-string quarterback this week. And they also made him a safety. He's 7 years into his NFL career, and he's a safety? You could see, like, maybe a guy the first year, maybe he switches positions so he can try to get playing time or minutes or just play in the league. Like we saw with Julian Edelman in 2010, where he went from quarterback to receiver. You've seen that happen. Felipe Franks went from quarterback to tight end because he was a bigger guy. People talked about Lamar Jackson coming a running back instead of a quarterback. We've heard people saying about Joe Milton, the Patriots' second rookie quarterback this year, the 6th-round pick they drafted, maybe turning him into a receiver or tight end because he's big and he's fast and he could probably catch. But you know what? 7 years in a career, you don't make a position change. Unless you're maybe a corner going to a safety, maybe a receiver wanting to go to running back, maybe you're a tight end and got a lot smaller and you went to wide receiver. But like other than that, you do not switch. The tight ends may go to fullbacks. The tackles might have gotten smaller and faster and they have hands. They might go to tight end or be a bigger tight end. But or linebacker to DN to linebacker. But you don't see a complete 180 switch from offense as the quarterback to defense as a safety. There's just nothing you can do there where that is even explainable. But, on that thought of them drafting a quarterback, let's talk about this year's rookie class, who has been highlighted by Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and Drake May. And yes, you did not hear me say Caleb Williams' name because he's been absolute garbage. He is considered what people would like to call a bust. Yes, you could use the B word right now. I would just use it a little lenient. He is a bust as of now. Doesn't mean in 2 years he's going to be a bust. That doesn't mean next year he's going to be a bust. But this year, he is a complete bust. What has he done with the most talent out there? And he's only thrown 9 touchdowns, and we're on to week 12. I know they had a bye week, but guess what? Who cares they had a bye week? Every team has a bye week. The Bengals have a bye week this week. There's also a bunch of teams this week. The Jets are also on a bye week. Next week, a ton of teams are on a bye week. And then week 14, the last week of bye weeks, comes up, and you get the last little sleuter of teams. But guess what? You don't play bad with a team that has dominant on offense not dominant, has a ton of talent on the offensive side. He went to a situation where he was in the best situation of any number 1 overall pick has ever been. Look at Joe Burrow. He went to the Bengals when they weren't that good. They had the number 1 overall pick. They took him. A year later, they go draft Jamar Chase. The same year they draft Burrow, they draft T. Higgins, and now they have a top 5 offense. And they went to a Super Bowl in that span. But now it's like the situation for Caleb was way better than what Joe Burrow walked into, what Trevor Lawrence walked into, what Kyler Murray, what Baker walked into, and you're doing absolutely nothing. The 3rd overall pick, who started in week 7 of the NFL season, has played better. He's beaten you on your home turf. You've also lost to the 2nd overall pick, and both the 2nd and 3rd overall picks don't have as much of a receiving core as you do. Obviously, Jaden Daniels has a Terry McLaurin, but he has nothing else. Obviously, Drake May has a tight end, but he has nothing else. The Drake May is the 31st ranked in receiving core, and he's outplaying the number 1 overall pick. I swear, and I've been saying this, the Bears have buyer's remorse twice. You can have it once and be like, okay, maybe we took the wrong guy at 1. You don't have it and you lose to number 2 and a number 3 overall pick. Not even consecutive. It was 2 times in 3 weeks. You lost to 2 rookie quarterbacks and you're seeing draft class drafted right behind you. You are not that good, Caleb. You had a ton of talent coming out of college, but then your game, 75%, you couldn't even translate to the NFL. You made runs where you throw off your back foot and you just bounce up in the air and you throw this pass. You can't do that in the league. They're just going to pop you onto the ground. The linemen don't care. Those D linemen are getting paid to hit you. And they're going to destroy you. You get sacked 9 times by at the time, one of the worst defenses in the league in New England. You stood in the pocket for 6 seconds. You completely missed open guys, and you allowed a team that allowed 28 points every game since week 6. Allowed 3 points. That defense in New England looked like your team's 85 Bears defense. It was dominating from the start to the finish and made you look like a joke. You looked like a 7th-round pick out there. I would have understood if you were a 7th-round pick. You're the number 1 overall pick. You were supposed to be the next Patrick Mahomes, the next Josh Allen. But no, Jaden Daniels is playing phenomenally. He looks like Lamar Jackson out there. Drake May looks like Josh Allen. Bo Nix looks like a Kirk Cousins type of quarterback, maybe a Jared Goff, depending on what you want to call him. But guess what? You look like a bust. We just talked about a bust with Daniel Jones. You're starting to look like you're going to be in the same category as them. Right? The 2021 class, majority of them are busts. You would probably have been the 2nd overall pick that year, and you still would have turned out to be a bust. There's nothing that in Caleb Williams' bag that he is good at as of right now. There's too many negatives than there are positives. He had games where he looked like himself in college. Then there's games where he doesn't even look good at all. I can't even tell you anymore. If you asked me in week 7, I could have gave you one. Obviously, he's shown his arm strength before. I don't know why he doesn't do it half of the time. And then I don't understand what is the point of playing a guy this early who now looks like a project. Caleb looks like a project. I remember coming into this draft and they're like, oh, well, Caleb and Jaden are the most NFL-ready quarterbacks and Drake May is a project. Drake May won the starting job and during the preseason. He outplayed Jacoby Brissett, but they wanted to have him learn, which made sense, and now he's balling. He already has the same amount of touchdowns as Caleb Williams. He has one more interception, but also Drake May is one of those guys. He's like a Josh Allen. It's going to be a guy with a little bit higher on the interception ratio, but he's also going to have a crap tons of touchdowns. Like Josh Allen for the Bills will have like 55 touchdowns, but he also have like 12 picks. And you're like, oh, he needs to limit down his turnovers. But like you're talking about, he scored more times. He scored almost quadruple the amount of times he's thrown an interception. We've seen him go off again. We've seen 48 touchdowns from Josh Allen and 14 picks. He's just a high interception guy, but he's also going to produce a ton of touchdowns. And that's what Drake May looks like. Jaden Daniels, he's just going to torch you on your feet and on the ground. I don't know what the Bears were thinking when the two guys behind you are playing better. Buyers remorse is definitely in play. I definitely do think they regret it. Obviously, they hired the worst offense coordinator possible to develop a quarterback. But guess what? Caleb Williams, most of this is on you. It's not just on Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron does deserve some of the blame. I can't blame Matt Eberflus. He had to bring in somebody, and you don't even know if the owner told him to bring in Shane Waldron. Not in control. Bring in Cliff Kingsbury, and he might be good. I'm good. But if you look at the other guys, Jaden Daniels, offensive rookie year, as of right now, he's still a lock. I don't care he had a bad game against the Eagles, but he's a lock right now. Drake May has looked phenomenal with a 31st ranked receiving core. He has the 30th ranked offensive line, and he's still torturing teams. Even they got the Dolphins, who they're playing this week, saying that they're practicing defending him like he's Josh Allen, which is crazy. He's a rookie quarterback getting compared to a top 3 quarterback in the league. I'm also comparing Jaden Daniels to a top 3 quarterback in the league in Lamar Jackson. He plays exactly like him. The only difference is I think Jaden has better passing skills. I think Jaden's more accurate. I think Jaden has a better arm. I think Jaden just knows where to go with the football instead of Lamar Jackson. And then you got Bo Nix, who I compared to Jared Goff and Kirk Cousins, and he's been kind of a surprise this year. He's up there in the offensive rookie of the year. He has the most touchdown passing for rookie quarterbacks. He has... How many yards does he have? He has the second most yards after Jaden Daniels. And he's just been looking good. Obviously, the playbook's been dialed down a little bit to hide his weaknesses, what you want to do. But also, some of your weaknesses you probably want to show. Because you know what? You need to work on those. You can't just work on them in practice and then say it's like, oh, it's fixed, and then it comes right back out. Let him call more plays. Let him extend this playbook. Let him show some of his weaknesses. Because then he's going to learn in practice and see it in film. He's like, okay, maybe I can't do this, but I can do this instead. Or maybe I just have to be smarter with the football. Let him open it up. Let him throw deep balls. They don't throw that many deep balls in Denver. I've seen a couple of their games. He will take a couple of shots during a game, but I think they need to take more. Play action more. Where they can get that deep shot to work. If you get a good game where you're running the ball really well, hand it off and then throw it deep. But I'm also not Sean Payton, so... But all the other rookie quarterbacks, other than obviously Michael Penix and J.J. McCarthy, who one's a backup in Penix's situation, and Jaden McCarthy's hurt. And I'm not going to count Spencer Rattler. He played literally 3 games due to the fact that Derek Carr was hurt. But this draft class looks pretty good if you're not named Caleb Williams. Let's go to my Week 12 picks. So last night, we did have our Thursday Night Football. Obviously, this is Friday. November 22nd, but it was the 8-3 Steelers taking on the Cleveland Browns, and they lost. Honestly, I don't think the Steelers are as good as people make them. Their record's 8-3. They've also played absolutely nobody really of concern. You played the Commanders, which you almost lost to, and you should have lost to a couple weeks ago. But then you also lose to the Browns. You've beat... who did they beat last week? Oh, yeah. You also beat the Ravens with 5 field goals. And I know Steelers fans out there like, oh, well, we're still a really good team. We're still going to win the division, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you don't win against a top tier team in the playoffs with 5 field goals. You just have no offense. And last night, for majority of the game, your offense didn't even show up. You end up scoring a late touchdown, then you end up getting a fumble on Jameis Winston or a rush, and then you end up getting a touchdown and taking the lead, and then Jameis Winston takes it right down the field and scores on you. And then you have to take a Hail Mary, and the only time Russell Wilson's completed a Hail Mary, it was when it landed in the other team's hands. So honestly, it's not good enough. But let's get into our Sunday's game. That's enough talk about last night's game. The first 1 o'clock game, we got the Kansas City Chiefs heading to Carolina to take on the 3-7 Carolina Panthers. I'm taking the Chiefs. The Carolina Panthers are the worst team in football, or one of the worst teams in football, I should say. So give me the Chiefs in a blowout. I'm not going to really cover much in this game because why should I? It's Patrick Mahomes versus Bryce Young, and Bryce Young's not on that good of a team, so give me the Chiefs. The next 1 o'clock game, the Vikings at the Bears. The Bears, like we said, have Caleb Williams, who have not been looking good. And for the Vikings, they have been looking quite iffy for the last couple of weeks, but they had a good win last week. I think this week they'll get another good win. They're 8-2. I think Sam Darnold just needs to play a little bit smarter with the football. But the Bears, I don't even know where you go from there. If you lose this week, your season's over. And I have you losing this week to the Vikings, and not that close of a game because Caleb Williams can't really get touchdown drives. I watched it in the Patriots game. Last week they did score a touchdown, but it wasn't because of Caleb Williams, just because of their DeAndre Swift, their running back. It wasn't that impressive. It wasn't even a passing touchdown to their running back. It was a handoff. So give me the Vikings, probably like 31-10. I'll give the Bears a touchdown. The Titans going to Houston to take on the 7-4 Texans. I'm taking the Texans. The Tennessee Titans are also a team that I can see looking for a quarterback. They are not that good. It's probably going to be a blowout, like a 48-6 game. Will Levis sucks at football. I'm just going to be honest. He sucks. There's nothing there. Like you're like, ooh, that team is really looking good. He looks terrible. So just give me the Texans and a blowout win. The next game, Lions at the Colts. So we got the best team in the league, the Detroit Lions, taking on a mediocre team in Indianapolis called the Colts. The Colts, they don't look good at all. Anthony Richardson looks okay at best. The Lions, they're probably the favorites to win the Super Bowl. They could take home their first Lombardi in NFL history, their first in franchise history, the first time they'll ever appear in a Super Bowl in franchise history. But I'm going to take the Lions and also in a blowout tonight. This week is a lot of blowouts to me. But I can't see anyone else like picking the Colts. It's just hard. They have nothing. Their coach is okay. Their offense is okay. Their defense is okay. There's just nothing really there that I see the Colts being the Lions. Lions in the blowout. I can't even pick the score. The next 1 o'clock game is the New England Patriots heading down to Miami to take on the 4-6 Miami Dolphins. I want to hint at Miami a lot because you want to know why? The Patriots haven't won in Miami since like 2019. And that's kind of embarrassing because we're in 2024 and they can't play in warm weather games. But also I'm thinking it's more of a Belichick thing than a Patriot players thing. This will be the first time they go to Miami without Bill Belichick. So this is the time to rewrite the script. Also, the last couple of years, you also haven't had the best quarterback situation. You also haven't had a great quarterback since 2019. The last guy that beat the Patriots, beat the Dolphins in Miami was Tom Brady. Tom Brady hasn't been in the league since 2 years ago. He also hasn't been on the team since 2019. That was his last year in New England. You had Mac Jones, Cam Newton, and I don't even know if it was Mac that played in Miami or it was Bailey. No, I think it was Mac. It was Mac. They played both games with Mac. So never mind. So Tua's 6-0 against the Patriots. If you're the Patriots, you need to kind of rewrite the script. Obviously, Tua's not that great of a quarterback. He's solid. This Dolphins team is not that good. This is your chance to rewrite your script. You're a team that's playing spoiler. Knock the chance out of the Dolphins from trying to make the playoffs. There's no advice I can give to New England. They're obviously not. They weren't supposed to be a good team this year. This is a team that's playing spoiler. You're a playoff team wanting to make the playoffs. We're going to come in, watch out. We might try to beat you. But at the end, but it's like one of those things. It's like the Patriots. You're playing spoiler. The Dolphins are still trying to make the playoffs, and they still can. You win, you make them make sure that they can only lose one more time in the rest of the year. If they go 4-7 after this week, they have one more loss, and they're knocked out of the playoffs as well. Like the Patriots, you are not making the playoffs, so who cares if you go out and beat the Dolphins? Crush their hopes. I'm going to take New England. I actually do think New England's going to win. I think Drake May's going to play good against his defense. I think everyone hints that the offensive line for New England is so bad that they're going to lose every game, and especially with Drake May. But Drake May can make plays with his feet, and I don't think the Dolphins have that great of a pass rush, as everyone says they do, and statistically they say they are. They just don't look good. They've been feeding on bad teams most of the year. They played on a Jacoby Brissett-led Patriots. Like, ooh, somebody's scared of Jacoby Brissett. Nobody. He won one game and then came in and finished what Drake May started because Drake May got a concussion. Like, there was nothing there the Dolphins could have done, and they almost lost if they called the 2 feet and bounced for trail and poke. And if you watch the highlight, 2 feet do hit the ground. But enough on that talk. Give me the Patriots a 20-17 score. The next 1 o'clock game, the Buccaneers going to New York to play at MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Football Giants. And the New York Football Giants, like I said, are kind of a joke right now because they started Daniel Jones the last 6 years. You should have took J.J. McCarthy this year. You should have traded up and tried to get Jaden Daniels or Drake May. You wanted Drake May. Why didn't you trade up? Oh, well, the Patriots won. How about your division rival? Your son, Joe Schoen, even said to pick Jaden Daniels. And you let him go to your division rival. Who cares where Drake May went? If you went to New England, who cares? You play them every 4 years. Maybe you'll play them if you're in the same spot in the division. But guess what? You don't go and play Daniel Jones 6 years. Like, it's going to be a different situation. There's that term. If you keep running the same team, you're going to go crazy. It's like going crazy. And to me, it is going crazy. Because you ran out Daniel Jones with a similar offense every single year and expecting a different result. You had 2 head coaches within the span of Daniel Jones' career. You had Joe Judge, a special teams coordinator, make coach. Who the heck makes a special teamer a head coach? And it's like, it's crazy. But give me the Bucs in the absolute blowout against the Giants because they're starting Tommy DeVito, and I don't trust Tommy DeVito at all. The last 1 o'clock game is the Cowboys taking on the Washington Commanders. And the Commanders got my offensive rookie of the year this year. I actually really like Jaden Daniels. I wasn't super high because I know how high his ceiling was going to be. But I think we've seen what he's going to do at his full potential this year. And I don't think teams are going to stop it easily. I think you can stop it, but it's going to be like Lamar Jackson. There's going to be games where you do stop him. And you're going to get him to throw picks, and you're going to get him to do this. But I also think Jaden Daniels is going to be a little bit better than Lamar Jackson does passing-wise. I think you can stop his rushing ability, but stop his passing ability at the same time will be a little bit impossible. And the Cowboys, they don't have their starting quarterback, so give me the Commanders, also like in a blowout win, 31-6. The first 4:05 game, the Denver Broncos taking on the Las Vegas Raiders in Las Vegas. The Raiders are hot garbage. They're also going to be another team looking for a quarterback in this draft. They've been linked to Shedeur Sanders. Maybe they hire draft Shedeur and hire Deion Sanders to be their head coach. Obviously, Antonio Pierce has not been great at all. This team is garbage. It's literally probably the worst situation this year other than the Giants for quarterbacks to go into. At least if you're going to Tennessee, at least you have a little bit of a receiving core. You don't have a great receiving core, but at least you still have Calvin Ridley. You got a decent tight end, Conquero. I don't even know how you pronounce his name. I probably botched it, but you got something there. You got Tony Pollard. You got a solid O-line. But, like, the Giants and Raiders are absolute crap holes. Like, there's nothing there other than Malik Neighbors in the Giants and Jacoby Myers in the Raiders, who might be dealt in the offseason. So give me the Broncos in a fairly good win, 24-10. And the first 4:25 game out of the two, the San Francisco 49ers to take on what used to be Aaron Rodgers' kryptonite in the Packers. I'm taking the Packers in this one. The Niners haven't been good at all this year. You have a ton of talent. I think Brock Purdy's starting to come down to earth. I think at some point they will be looking for a new quarterback. Brock Purdy has not been the guy. Not going to say can be saying on the other side. Jordan Love hasn't been the same he was like last year. That injury's definitely affected him, but he's also playing good enough where I think they can beat the San Francisco 49ers. So give me the Packers 31-21. In the last 425 game is the Cardinals at the Seahawks. The Cardinals are the best team in the NFC West. It's obvious. They play really well. Kyler's been playing well. The Seahawks have fallen apart. They fell from really high heights to ground zero in a matter of seconds. It took about 3 weeks, and they were gone. They went from 3-0 to 3-3 in a matter of seconds. Then it was 3-4. Then it was 3-5. Then it was 4-4. Or it was 4-3, 4-4, 4-5, 5-5. They've been mediocre the last few weeks. And the Cardinals, they started off slow. They started off at that ground zero, the level ones, and now they're moved all the way up and like, oh, now we're in the stratosphere. Now we're all the way up here. But I'm taking the Cardinals in this one. They're beating Seattle and the 12th man in Seattle with a score of 27-14. And the Sunday night football should be a good one. Jalen Hurts, Matthew Stafford in LA, Philly, Rams, two teams the Patriots did face in the Super Bowl, by the way. Fun fact. And one of them, in both teams, they did face twice. But this should be a good matchup. The Eagles are 8-2. The Rams are 5-5. The Rams defense, without Aaron Donald, has been really good. They're one of the best defense in the league. And Sean McVay's doing works with that team. He's getting older, and you can tell he's not been the same. But guess what? He's been playing well. The Eagles, they've been sloppy all year. They might not have Devonta Smith. It seems like he's going to be out this week. But I'm going to take the Rams at home in a very close matchup, 27-24. Let's get to Monday Night Football. The day everyone doesn't like, Mondays. But Monday nights are what you look for. You got the Ravens. We got the Chargers. Also in Los Angeles. So we have both LA's teams playing at home this week, just on different days. So they'll be able to switch the fields. The Ravens, they just lost to the Steelers. 15-9 or something, or 12. I don't remember the score. It was all field goals. And they would have won if Justin Tucker just hit 2 field goals. They could have been 8-3 right now, facing the 7-3 Chargers. The Chargers, to me, also haven't been that great. They just blew a 20-something point lead last week and almost lost. I don't know who to pick here. It's too hard. It's one of those games where it's like, this is either going to be a really good game or it's going to be a really bad game. Let's not to mention, this Monday Night Football is a big one. It's John Harbaugh taking on his own brother, Jim Harbaugh, a rematch of, the Super Bowl 47, San Francisco and the Baltimore Ravens, where the Ravens won in New Orleans. It's the first time they've played since then, because after that season, Jim Harbaugh left to go to Michigan, and everyone knows the story from there. So I'm actually going to take Jim Harbaugh in this matchup at home against the Ravens. I don't think the Ravens are that good of a team. I don't think this AFC North, the top 2 teams, are really that great. The Ravens haven't been phenomenal. Their pass defense is terrible. Their run defense is okay. And the Chargers, they also have, I forgot their offense, I forgot what their offense coordinator's name is, Greg, and I can't think of his last name. He used to work for the Ravens, so he knows the Ravens. If you're going to ask someone that knows the back of their hand about the Ravens, and you also got Jim Harbaugh, who knows his brother probably like the back of his hand. Obviously, them two grew up together. They're good friends. Obviously, when Jim had that health scare, John left his own post-game interview to go check on his brother. Obviously, they do really care about each other. But this one should be a fun one. The Battle of the Brothers. This is going to be fun. Give me the Chargers in the close game, 30-27. One little topic I want to talk about, another big thing that happened last week, and this was not in the NFL or in the NBA or in the MLB, but this was the Boston Bruins firing their head coach, Jim Montgomery. Terrible move, in my opinion. It's not like he was the problem. He wasn't. It is Don Sweeney and Neely's problem. They can't build a roster to save their lives. I don't know, in a matter of what, like a span of 2 years, you went from the best roster in the NHL, the best team in NHL history, to who? You're kind of mediocre this year. You'll make the playoffs just because your division is god awful. I think Don Sweeney fell off a cliff. And you're just playing the team with them. I think it's one of those things where you see those guys lifting a ton of weight, like maybe like moving a semi-truck or a plane. You see these really strong guys strapped and pulling them by walking. That's Don Sweeney with the Bruins. He's the one walking off the cliff because he doesn't know how to build a team, and he's trying to take the Bruins with him. And this is the kind of move that tries to save his career. Saying like, hey, look, it was Jim Montgomery's fault. But you better hope that Joe Zacco goes off, and you can say, maybe it was Jim Montgomery's fault. But the issue is you pulled up the interim coach. Your interim head coach is before last night's game was 130, 134, and like 8 overtime losses. Which is pretty cool. He had only like less than 20. I don't remember the exact record. I'm going to look it up. Joe Zacco coaching record. Oh, here it is. 130, 134, and 30. Granted, he has less than 40 overtime losses in his career, which is cool. He doesn't go to overtime a lot, but also you lose a lot in the regular season. 134. Obviously now after last night, he's 131, 134. Ooh, if he wins 3 games, he might tie and have a 500 record. Ooh, you didn't move off to somebody. I do expect him to leave. They're going to hire a new one. I do think Mike Sullivan of Nashville might get fired, and the Bruins might bring him back for his second stint. It wouldn't be the first time they bring a coach back on his second stint, because Bruce Cassidy, who the Vegas coach, was brought in Boston twice. He was fired once, or he left. Then he came back, and then he left. As you know, because we fired him. There's a different story. We fired Bruce Cassidy because he couldn't win us a chip. Ooh. Yep. You went from 3 winning coaches. You had Claude Julien from like 2011 to 2019. Then you had from 2019 to 2022, you had Bruce Cassidy, 2018, 2022, I forgot, or 2016, 2022, I forgot the exact dates that Bruce Cassidy coached coached Boston. And then you had Jim Montgomery, who since 2022 had the best record from any coach in that span with Jim Montgomery. And now you fire him because he's the problem? How about maybe don't just sign Elias Lindholm and Zadorov? Maybe go after Jonathan Marchessault. I don't think the Bruins owners care about paying luxury tax. They're billionaires. Luxury tax is just like throwing out $10 for an average person in an average job. It's like, ooh, here's $10. I make $75K a year. Ooh, I threw out $10. Here you go. Here's $10. Here's $10. But you are running a billion-dollar organization and you signed 2 free agents. Obviously, Elias Lindholm hasn't played well. Zadorov has played okay, but guess what? It's still, again, the pasta show. Obviously, you do have arguably a top 5 player in your organization with David Pastrnak, and you can argue he's there, but he's also a top 10 player in the league, but you can't run through him. He's not going to win you a Stanley Cup by himself. He needs assistance. He needs players. Go make some move. Don Sweeney, this is on you. That is all I got today for the Weekly Sports Guy podcast. See you next time.